Hey, Stuart here. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to beat sugar cravings for good. And I want to talk a little bit about sugar cravings because there's two elements to it, and a lot of people get confused, and I know a lot of people are struggling with it, so here goes. The first way to look at sugar cravings is that there are two components to it. So you have a physical craving and more of an emotional craving. And they're two separate things that unfortunately can combine together and create this impossible situation where you become very, very vulnerable to eating sweets. So the best way to manage it in my experience, and I've had a lot of experience with this because most of the clients that I'm dealing with have some element of a sugar addiction, and it is an addiction. I think it's important to understand how powerful sugar is. I'm not saying that sensationally or dramatizing it. It is an actual drug. It has very similar properties to many of the illicit drugs, and it's something that you need to pay a lot of respect to. It's very, very hard to get off. Don't listen to anyone that says coming off sugar is an easy process. It is not. And it's very difficult to self-diagnose how pronounced your addiction to it is, because you might not be eating a lot of direct sugar, as in you might not be having sugar in your tea and coffee, or eating Mars bars or Snickers bars all the time, but you could be eating a lot of indirect sugars, which is equally as damaging, but a little bit more hidden and subliminal, I guess, and can be quite confusing for the person that's suffering from sugar addiction without really what they feel like is eating direct sugar. They're not doing that. So that's just what I want to talk to you about. There's no quick fixes with this, but this will at least give you a good framework to work on, or to start with at least, and start to address some of these things if you want to address it. And that's what I would also say, is you really have to commit to coming off sugar. It's not something you can sort of do casually or part-time. I don't think it works cutting it down slowly either. I think you're much better off just going cold turkey. And it also, I would say, when you do that, it's not about never having sugar again. It's not like Alcoholics Anonymous or anything like that. You can definitely have sugar again, but I think the benefits of going cold turkey and actually really breaking the back of it early put you in a much better place to, reintroducing it into your diet in various forms. So as I said, there's two components that you need to almost need to split it into. You've got two elements of coming off sugar. You've got the emotional element and you've got the physical element. So I'll talk about the physical element first. So the best way to manage a sugar addiction is to get on top of the physical component of it. And the best way to do that is to, yes, cut sugar completely from your diet. Basically go to a whole foods diet where you're really only eating foods that are not man-made. So that eliminates things like bread and flour and all those high glycemic response foods. I'd also eliminate sweet fruit as well. I think that's really important, because really the way you're going to come off sugar is to get on top of your blood sugar. And I've talked about this in other videos as well, but it's particularly important for people that have or that are wanting to come off sugar, if you like, if they have a sugar addiction or sugar cravings constantly. Managing your blood sugar is the most important thing that you'll need to do physically to manage your cravings. So you'll find that will actually go a long way to helping you come off sugar, because what you don't want is to not manage it, because you'll end up in this sort of really vulnerable situation where you'll physically feel like it and emotionally feel like it. So if we manage your blood sugar, and I've talked about this in other videos, but basically cutting out carbohydrates, having a moderate protein, moderate fat, low carb meal 3 or 4 times a day. Keep your snacks to nuts in the afternoon for a couple of weeks. So I'd have 2 meals which are moderate protein, moderate fat, moderate carb, so you can work that out for yourself. 3 meals, and in between lunch and dinner I'd be having nuts. Handful of nuts, any nuts are fine. You can have peanut butter, you can have any sort of fat, but the fats are really important because they have a couple of other benefits, but for the purposes of coming off sugar, it really helps mitigate that blood sugar response. It's also a high calorie or an energy dense form of fuel which doesn't impact blood sugar. So that's why if you're going to take out carbs, it's important to add fats, because your body still needs fuel to function and operate, and your body needs to be able to think and all those things. Now, a lot of people, this sort of transitions into the emotional element of sugar as well. Now, a lot of people habitually have sugar in various forms at particular times of the day. And the most vulnerable part of the day, over my years of experience, seems to be people having something at about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock slump. It's a combination of almost 4 hours or 3 or 4 hours since lunch. So blood sugar is starting to drop. Most people have a high carb lunch. So it means blood sugar is starting to track to that level where your body's actually saying, give us some carbohydrates, give us something. So you've got that. And then on top of that, if you do something habitually enough, it becomes a pattern mentally. And you've got this horrible combination of an emotional habit or habitual response or a pattern combined with a physical craving, or low blood sugar if you like. So you've got low blood sugar and habitual craving converging together at about 3:30. That's an impossible situation to say no to, because you're being hit from two angles. You have no resistance to that. So what most people end up doing is they'll have like chocolate or something sweet. It'll be some form of sweet fruit or something really carby at about that time. A lot of people also experience lethargy at that time. So it's this combination of factors that you really want to avoid and be cognizant of. But if you manage your food and you manage your blood sugar through your meals, you'll find that the physical craving is not there when 3 o'clock comes. So you're not actually physically feeling like sugar, but you might still get this habitual emotional craving for it. And that's what I want to make the distinction. So the emotional craving is really just in your head, but it's as a result of this sort of pattern of consistency of always doing the same thing at the same time. Brain gets very used to it. And the other thing with the brain is your brain can use glucose as fuel, can use ketones as fuel, which is fatty acids as well. But if your brain is used to this sort of pulse of sugar at 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon, then it's going to just go, hang on, where's the sugar? Where's the sugar? Where's the sugar? Where's the sugar at 3 o'clock? Even though physically you're not going to be hungry, your blood sugar's not low, but you're still going to be dealing with that. Now that takes a little bit of mental fortitude, I guess, to overcome. But what it will allow for you to do is actually see, hang on, I actually don't feel like sugar. Why is my brain going chocolate, chocolate, chocolate? So it's that almost like that first step to getting off it, but that's the way to do it. You've got to manage the physical component on one side and deal with the emotional, mental component, which is more of a willpower thing, but it does dissipate over time. And you'll find that the longer you can manage the physical side of it, which is through your meals, managing your blood sugar, that emotional side of it will actually sort of dissipate over time. And it's not a huge amount of time we're talking about here. You're talking about maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, and you'll be in a very different place in terms of needing sugar. And that's really the first step. So if you're saying that you want to get off it, first thing is committing that you actually do want to get off it. Second thing is getting a diet or a framework in place that you understand you've got confidence in and manages your blood sugar. And the third component, I guess, is being prepared that you're going to have this sort of emotional, habitual response to it, but see it for what it is and just have the fortitude and the willpower to say, you know what, I don't need this. My brain might be telling me I need it, but I don't actually physically need it. So hopefully that was helpful. It is a bit of a journey coming off sugar, but treat it with respect. It is a drug. It has very similar qualities to many of the illicit drugs out there. It's a very serious thing to come off. It's not easy. I haven't said it's easy. If you do want to do it, that's the way to do it. So hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you on the next video.